Once upon a time, in a town full of canals and bridges, there was a kid who had a dog named Bibble. The dog was big, but not too big, and had a bright pink tongue like bubble gum. And it was also very lazy. So much so that when they went for walks, Bibble preferred to walk backwards so that his hind legs got less tired. The kid thought this was very funny. One day, the kid was playing with balloons. They were red and blue and kept on floating away. Every time he let go, they would float up into the sky, and he would have to run after them. He was tired of this. So when he saw a string, he had an idea. He tied the string to the balloons so that they wouldn't float away. Then he looked around for something heavy enough to keep the balloons from floating away. He didn't want to use his toy cars because they weren't heavy enough. But then he saw his dog Bibble sleeping nearby. The kid thought, perfect, my dog is heavy, really heavy, like 1,000 pounds heavy. And he's a good boy. He won't mind. The kid put the string around the fattest part of Bibble's body, right below his belly. It fit perfectly. Then he tied the other end of the string to something solid. It's gonna take a lot of weight to keep these balloons from floating away, the kid said. As if on cue, one of the balloons started floating away again. But instead of running after it, the kid pulled on the string. Come on, Bibble, he said. To his surprise, the dog didn't seem to mind being used as a giant kite. He wagged his tail and licked the kid's face. Then slowly but surely, the kid started letting out more and more string, and Bibble started floating away. The kid watched as his dog floated higher and higher into the air. He smiled. He couldn't remember the last time he had so much fun. Bibble, on the other hand, wasn't enjoying himself as much. Sure, the wind ruffling his fur felt nice, and the view was pretty cool. But he didn't want to be a floating balloon dog. He wanted to be a normal dog. A dog that could smell flowers and chase squirrels and dig holes. Not a dog that smelled like rubber and felt like he was about to explode. He barked and barked, but the kid couldn't hear him over the wind. All he saw was that the dog was getting lower and lower. And at first, he thought, great, Bibble wants to play fetch. But then he realized that Bibble was actually trying to get away. Bibble had slipped out of his collar and was now trying to climb down a drain pipe. The kid panicked. If Bibble fell, he would be seriously injured. So he started climbing down after him. The kid slid down the wet, slippery metal pipe as fast as he could. At the bottom, he found Bibble shaking and shivering. Are you okay? The kid asked. Bibble just kept on trembling. The kid knew that the dog was scared of heights, but he didn't think it would be this bad. He tried to make Bibble feel better by scratching him behind the ears. But then one of the balloons floated past them and knocked Bibble out cold. The kid screamed, "Oh, no, Bibble!" He grabbed onto the balloon before it floated away. "Don't worry, buddy, I'm here to save you," he said. The kid pulled on the string as hard as he could, but the balloon was too big. It didn't budge. He needed help. Luckily, some people walking by offered to help him pull the balloon back up. Together, they managed to get the dog down. As soon as Bibble was back on solid ground, he started wagging his tail again and licking the kid's face. Maybe being a floating balloon dog wasn't so bad after all. The kid laughed. He couldn't believe how much trouble they had gotten into. But it had been worth it. He had never had so much fun. But then he noticed that one of the balloons had floated away during the struggle. And it wasn't just any balloon. It was the red one, his favorite one. He looked at the people who had helped him, but they had already walked away. So he did the only thing he could. He started chasing after the balloon. The chase took them all over town, Past the bakery where the delicious smell of bread always filled the air. Past Mrs. Periwinkle's house, where her prize-winning begonias were on display, and over the bridge that crossed the river. Finally, the kid spotted the balloon behind the big wheel of the Ferris wheel at the amusement park. He ran as fast as he could, dodging between people, under tables, and over benches. Just as he was about to reach the balloon, though, it floated over the edge of the ride and started floating away again. No, 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 don't go, the kid cried. But the balloon didn't listen. It kept on floating, higher and higher into the air. The kid looked around to see if anyone could help him. That's when he saw the ticket booth. He ran over and explained his problem to the man in the booth. Please, please let me in, he begged. I need to get to that balloon. The man in the booth thought for a moment. Then he said, okay, but you'll have to ride the Ferris wheel to get there. It's the only way. The kid thanked him and ran to the Ferris wheel. He got in the basket and the ride started going up. The kid felt a little scared, but mostly he was excited. He had never ridden the Ferris wheel before. The baskets moved slowly and steadily higher and higher until they were at the top. The kid could see the whole town from up there. It was beautiful, but he didn't have time to enjoy the view. He had to get to that balloon. The kid leaned out of the basket and grabbed onto the string. Got you, he said triumphantly. He started pulling on the string, but the balloon was stuck between the bars of the Ferris wheel. It wouldn't come out. The kid struggled to free the balloon, but it was no use. It was stuck fast. He looked around frantically for another way to reach it, and that's when he saw it. One of the other baskets was empty. It had probably just been emptied. He quickly made his way over to it and climbed inside. The Ferris wheel started moving again, slowly and steadily higher and higher. The kid leaned out and reached for the balloon. He grabbed onto it and pulled. This time the balloon came free and he pulled himself up onto the bar. He was so close. He reached out and grabbed onto the next bar. Then he pulled himself up onto that one. And before he knew it, he was standing on the ground with the balloon in his hand. He looked around to see if anyone had noticed him stealing a ride on the Ferris wheel, but no one had. He had gotten away with it. The kid looked down at the balloon. He couldn't believe how big it was. It felt like a giant red-hot air balloon. He closed his eyes and made a wish. He wished that he could fly like a bird and soar through the clouds. Then he opened his eyes and started running. He ran past the Ferris wheel and the ticket booth. He ran past the river and the bridge. He ran all the way home. When he got there, he threw open the front door and ran into the backyard. He climbed up the treehouse and crawled into bed. He didn't want to tell his parents about his adventure. He knew they would be worried sick. And besides, it had been so much fun. He snuggled up with his teddy bear and closed his eyes. He dreamed of a world where kids could fly and dogs could balloon and everything was possible. The end.